In the tunnel.
In the tunnel.
In the tunnel. You're listening to In the Tunnel.
Hello and welcome back to a long hiatus that wasn't supposed to happen version of In the Tunnel. I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Sean.
And we are back. I live in North Carolina. It was affected briefly by Hurricane Florence. But as I am back in Wilmington, the show is back on air. Let's get into it. It is currently Sunday, September 30th. Here this the week of October 1st. So, we started this show when it was about the start of hockey and basketball playoffs, and now we bring to you baseball playoffs. So let's jump into it. We're also going to have some quick hockey talk and football talk.
Yeah, so let's get straight started with the matches, the series that are the one game that will come up first, which would be like the wild card games. So the Yankees and Athletics are the two teams in the AL wild card, and that is the only wild card game we know for sure right now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's get into that one. What do you think? Yankees have home field for that game.
It's one of those games where, even though their records are not far away from each other, it just feels like there's a different level between the Yankees and Athletics, just built on hype this season. Because for so long we thought if it wasn't the Yankees, it was the Red Sox in the AL East, and that race was supposed to be so close. It obviously ended up not being that close. The Red Sox kind of ran away from it, but that didn't mean that the Yankees were not on some other level compared to a team that's a small market team like the Athletics. It's easier to root for the Athletics as a neutral fan, but you have to think that the Yankees have more of an expected chance to win this game. I will say this, though, Yankee Stadium being the hitter ballpark that it is, it only takes so many flawed innings or just a couple mistakes from Yankee pitchers to make all the difference. I know that the Yankees have Aaron Judge and they have, every player that you could dream of with their payroll. I just think that the Athletics deserve more of a chance than that I'm giving them.
Oh, do you see? I would give, if the situation where the Athletics had home field, I would say, even as a Yankee fan, that the Athletics had the advantage. I think home field plays a big part of the in being the Yankees and how it's a hitter's ballpark and they have so many long ball hitters. And if they were in Oakland for that game, it would be way different.
I'd agree with that.
But saying that it's now at home for the Yankees, I just think they're going to be really comfortable at home and they're going to take it. I do think the Athletics can put up a fight, but I don't see them winning, and I see the Yankees as a better matchup for the Red Sox anyway.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I think that the Yankees, they're not a one-dimensional team, but it's always been, home field advantage matters. The Yankees have long ball power, there's no doubt to that, but defensively, there's nothing you can do to stop a home run that's hit as far as you can hit them in Yankee Stadium. So I think whoever hits the long ball most wins this game. I don't think that singles and RBIs on sac flies are going to really cut it in this game.
Oh, heck no.
But we could be surprised. I just don't think it's going to happen like that.
Yeah, but I think, Yankee Stadium is one of the shortest fields in baseball, so
And didn't they make it shorter
Yeah.
recently?
So like a sac fly is pretty tough in that park.
It is.
Just because the field is so short.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're right, it's going to be who can slug the most.
Right. It just seems like the most stereotypical thing that the Yankees haven't had like the most amazing pitching.
Yeah, but I do think that in a one game series they can deal with it. It's not like the pitching is going to I don't think the pitching is going to lose them the game,
Mm-hmm.
but not necessarily is that I don't think the pitching is going to win them the game either. It's all on the hitting.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Which is a little different for the Athletics. I feel like they're more of a,
Oh, pitching
pitcher's team
can make or
instead
break
of a
that
batting
game.
team.
Because again,
Yeah.
the Yankees are relying on their hitters. If the pitching staff, especially the starting pitcher for that series, or that game, prepares correctly and pitches around the hitters correctly, then there's not much the Yankees can do about it. So I really do think that pitching is a huge factor in the Athletics game, but not so much the Yankees game.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see because it's the strengths of the Athletics against the strength of the Yankees, and it'll basically be a battle of who wins that one.
Yep.
Do we know who's pitching for the Yankees?
I have not looked at the rosters.
The probables. Okay. I doubt it's Santana. Or not Santana, Sabathia.
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't know why I
think so.
always get those two confused.
Yeah, I don't know who's gonna
They
take.
probably haven't announced it yet. There's going to be a few days before that game starts, isn't it? It's probably like on a Tuesday or a Wednesday.
Yeah, it's gonna be on October 1st, October 3rd.
Third, so Thursday.
Yeah. But yeah, nothing's been announced yet as far as pitching or.
Yeah, we'll probably know either tomorrow, Monday, or Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so on the other side, NL wild card, we
Don't know yet.
don't really know.
Either of the teams, actually.
Okay, well that's good because I if 161 games weren't enough because today's the last day of the season, why not one more? Come down to the wire, and so yeah, we don't know, which is a thrilling component, I guess.
Yeah, because I mean, you have the Cubs and Milwaukee that are tied at 94 and 67 right now, and then you have the Dodgers and Rockies tied at 90 and 71 right now.
Yeah. So, but there is one thing. Both the Brewers and the Cubs have already clinched, so one of those two teams will be in the wild card game.
So
Correct?
what it's actually every team has clinched so far.
Except for the Dodgers.
Nope, everybody's in.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. Well, the big news there is the Cardinals didn't make the playoffs again. Very happy. So we can just end the season now. No Cardinals wins, no playoffs to lose. It's going to end up probably going to a Yankees or Red Sox type team. I hate to say that, I hate to say that I'd be up for Houston to knock both out, but I just don't know that that's going to happen this year.
Yeah, we'll see.
Because
about
as good
that
as as good as Houston's pitching is, the other teams just have way too much offense.
Yeah, the pitching would have to be on point basically every game.
With Houston's lineup, I can't say that's impossible. Or even improbable. They do a really good job. Didn't they have like 4 of their 5 starters make the All-Star team this year?
I think so.
Yeah, so I'd say that they're pretty darn good.
Yeah, I can see that.
All right, so we don't know who won the NL Central, though, between the Cubs and the Brewers.
No, so the Central, the Cubs and the Brewers are tied currently, same record. home and
Okay.
away. I don't know.
All right.
Did they have to play
We
another
might
game?
That's a good question. But we might get a game 163 then.
Yeah, because the Dodgers and the Rockies are also tied in record, but home and away records are different. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure exactly what's going to happen as far as.
Yeah, that one. Imagine if we get 2 game 163s in the NL playoffs, just while the AL sits around for a couple more days. That would be just. I mean, I'm not a. I know that the game 163 is necessary in those scenarios, but it's just crazy to think you have a game almost every day for 4 months,
It is
162
necessary,
games,
so I
longest
don't think there's much else you can do
schedule
about it,
in all the 4 major sports,
right?
and then it just kind of isn't settled at that point. And not only that, you play that long of a season just to potentially have one wild card game as a playoff, and that be considered making the playoffs, even though it's like, I mean, come on, that if you lose the wild card game, you feel like you didn't even make the playoffs. And then on top of that, now you have a make it or miss it either to the division or to the wild card game. So, it's like, I mean, I get it's necessary. I just think, like, at that point, it's really weird that it couldn't get figured out. Like, the margin, or not margin, but the number of opportunities you had to get it done, and not one time it happened.
I mean, like they still have one game left apiece, I think.
Yeah, and if they both win or they both lose, then it forces a game 163 in theory.
Yeah, and all the games start at 3 o'clock Eastern today, so.
Of course, because why not compete with the NFL?
I don't think
On
there's
a
anything
Sunday.
they can do about that because they need to get the games to finish, and then if they need to play a tiebreak,
Well, then they
before
could
the
have
wild
done the
card,
games at 10 a.m.
good luck with that one.
I mean, it's too late now. 10 a.m. is
It's
come
also
and gone, but
you're talking what markets you have to.
oh
Because
please,
you're not
you
going
mean
to play
tell
a
me
10
that
Eastern
people are
game
still?
for the Dodgers.
You really think? Look, I understand Sunday's a holy day. People go to church and all that stuff. But you really think that people aren't going to duck out to go to a Dodgers game at 7 a.m. on the West Coast?
Yes. 7 is
I
too
think
early
you're
for
wrong.
most people on the weekend.
But it's not too early for church. As far as I know, don't go to church. But
Yeah, but that's like, like, I just think if you want, because you're also competing with all these things, right? Like, any religious activities are usually earlier in the morning, and then, like, you have you have to find the time, and NFL's happening, but you can't, like, if you need to start the wild card by Thursday for the AL, right? You want to start them both around the same time.
true. I mean, any football player will tell you that it's God, family, and football are their top three. They don't say that baseball's in there. So,
Yeah, but that's a football player.
okay, I haven't found a baseball player that's named their top three yet, so
Alright, whatever.
I'm just saying, all the studies are there. Like, it's a small sample size, but every religious football player will tell you what their top three is. And every religious baseball player probably didn't get interviewed after the game. Anyway, where were we going with this?
You were talking about MLB playoffs. I don't know why you broke the tangent.
Oh, I didn't break the tangent. I created it.
Anyway, so let's get to. Well, I guess we'll do the AL because that is still the only place where we actually know any of the matchups.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Okay.
You want to
so,
talk
Yeah.
Houston?
So is it Houston and Cleveland for sure?
Yeah, I mean the
Yeah,
AL
Houston's gonna
is
win it.
done, set in stone.
Yeah, Houston's gonna win it.
Yeah, I think so too.
I mean, was it The Indians' ace pitcher Corey Kluber, isn't he like on like one of his worst years right now?
Yeah, I think
Like
so.
he hasn't been doing good, and I guess they do have the bats, but you haven't really heard of them having a big win streak or having the big headlines that they've had leading into other years. They've played in, a very weak division this year. The AL Central is, I mean, as far back as we've looked at it and covered it, it's not been a great division. It basically was like who survives without.
I mean, they are the only team in the AL Central with a win-loss over 500.
Yeah, so really they're there because like is you have to send somebody.
I mean,
But
I think they could take like a game, but
yeah, but like I said with Houston's pitchers earlier, I think that they're too good to like have a complete meltdown. It's not like they have a gap in their rotation or a weakness in their rotation where it's like, if this starter does well, then the next game is like, oh, it's a 50-50. There's no momentum swing that I can see coming from a Houston pitcher having a bad game. If Verlander doesn't do well, I don't see Cole or McCullers or any of those guys who have the next night having a bad game too. They probably rally. Their staff is just too good to fail consecutively.
okay, yeah, I can see that.
Whereas the Indians, I don't know that they have that same firepower pitching staff. We've known that they've had a decent offense for a few years now. It's just in regards to will it perform to the level that it can.
It needs to consistently perform too. It can't like
Yeah.
That's the hard thing because Houston's pitchers are all really good.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And, consistently it probably will be a little lower in terms of production than what they want, but it has to be higher than what they need. So there's a little bit of a level in between what you want, which is obviously really high, and what you need, which is, somewhere I'd say over that hovering around that 250 to 275 range. If you bat around there, then you're doing all right off of Houston's pitchers.
Yeah.
Because they're probably giving up maybe in the 220s if you probably average out the rotation. I haven't really done the math, but you have to assume that there's a really low ERA in there somewhere.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. The Red Sox, they deserve to wait for the wild card winner. I think that if we got a Red Sox-Yankees matchup, that would be classic. And I think it would probably go the distance in terms of...
That is a hard matchup. Like, I think if I'm the Red Sox, I'm hoping for the Athletics. Because the Red Sox and Yankees,
be easy
throughout the season, it has tilted more the Yankees' way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it would be an easier matchup for sure for the Red Sox. I think that it's just... I feel like it's just more inevitable that it happens the other way around. I think that, unfortunately, a Red Sox-Yankees matchup would be wonderful for an ALCS. I don't... For an ALDS, which historically I feel like is more when they've met up, it's... I mean... It would have been nicer if there were larger implications on the line. I get that it's still playoffs, but a seat in the World Series race, or in the World Series, would mean so much more than a seat in the ALCS.
Yeah. True.
I think that the Red Sox are better suited if they have to play the Yankees, just because, I mean, look at what they were capable of doing this year. They got out, like, that race in the AL East was neck and neck for a long time, and then the Red Sox just kind of just shot out of a can and took it away, and they didn't give it back. So I mean, standings are completely out the window when it comes to the playoffs. I just think that it is. They just have a more complete team.
Yeah, but I mean, watching the Red Sox Yankees games, like it just feels like the Yankees are more equipped to deal with the Red Sox, in my opinion.
I could see that. Again, it comes down to home field advantage, I think, too.
I
Because
don't know. Eh.
both of those ballparks are hitters' ballparks. There's no doubting that. I think that Boston in the past few years has done a little bit better with their pitching than the Yankees have.
Yeah, I
Uh,
agree.
but hold on, there is something to realize. Postseason David Price sucks.
He also hasn't been that good against the Yankees at all.
It doesn't matter who he's playing against in the playoffs, though.
What I mean during this regular season, he has not had good showings against the Yankees.
Even better. So I do think that this series can go the distance. I would not be surprised if the Yankees took it. It's one of those, like, I'll give it a 51% chance to the Red Sox.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, if I'm the Red Sox, I'm hoping. I think the Red Sox are better to deal with the Athletics, and they have a better chance of winning that series. That it's not a coin toss like the Yankees
Without a
series would
doubt.
be.
Without a doubt. I don't think there's any debate to that.
Yeah. Okay. So.
I think those teams are built very differently.
Mhm. Yeah. So the only team that where we know is the Braves, and they're definitely not going to be a wild card team.
Yep.
But it looks like they're gonna play either. Would it be? They'll play either the Dodgers or Colorado.
I'd rather it be Colorado. I think both those teams making the playoffs would be a lot better in terms of entertainment value than for the Dodgers to make it again. And the Rockies still have the lead in that race, I think.
Nope.
No?
They're
Okay.
tied with one game left in the season. Just,
All right, well, it was worth a shot.
just like the Cubs and Milwaukee.
Yeah. I'd prefer that the Rockies won it. I think it's weird because those are two teams that have kind of like rebounded from bad years last year,
But
and to make it back, it's nice for them.
also,
But it means that one of them's eliminated.
yeah, but like, I mean, for at least with the Braves, it's like the same situation that Cleveland's in. They were the best of a pretty bad division.
Yeah, but the Braves have been
Decent.
they've been decent this year, but in terms of the past few years, they had the unusually like basement teams. So for them, being decent is still an upgrade. They still have overcome the standings and become a better team that in the next few years will probably rise and become even better. They just happened to get lucky this year with the Phillies kind of like losing a few steps after the All-Star break and the rest of the division looking like crap.
Yeah.
I mean, if you put the Braves in the NL Central, then obviously none of this happens. We don't know that the Braves are on the up and up until we look back at the season after it's all said and done and say, hey, look at the Braves win-loss from this year and the year beforehand. But that's not how it went down.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. It just seems like they're the best of the worst division, in my opinion, right? And
In the NL.
yeah, because like the rest of those teams in that division, like Washington didn't really hold it together. Philly didn't really hold it together. The Mets and Miami just tanked.
Yeah, Washington was that team that was like, they kept saying that they were going to hold it together. Like, oh, we're not going to trade Harper. We still believe this team has a chance. It's like, come on, really? You can't be like right under 500 forever.
They'll end the season above 500 barely, but still.
Yeah, well, so will the Pirates. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, true.
Because, like, at least for the Pirates, they were supposed to have, like, 68 wins. The Nationals were supposed to be in that race.
Yeah. Ended up looking 8 games-ish out, so...
Yeah, exactly. And for a team that was supposed to be in that race, you focus all your efforts into trying to make something out of the last year that you have Bryce Harper, and they really didn't. You got a nice home run derby win out of the Nationals this year. That was pretty much it.
Yep.
And that's fine, unless you're a Nationals fan. But
True.
all right, and so yeah, getting back to it, I think that the Braves and the Rockies both better stories, and I think can compete on a more even level.
So,
but I'd prefer that, like, the Dodgers played the Braves and the Braves whooped the Dodgers, and then, like, the Rockies beat the Brewers. I'd rather see those two.
So you want to see the Rockies face the Cubs, you're saying?
Yeah, I'd rather see those two teams, the Braves and the Rockies in the NLDS, than I would rather see one of those powerhouse teams like the Dodgers or,
Okay, fair enough.
I think the Dodgers. I'd rather not see the Dodgers reach the World Series thing last year. I'm not a big fan of the same two teams making the playoffs every year, which is weird being a Penguins fan because obviously I got to see it a few times. But outside of your own teams, it's like the NBA. You don't want to see Golden State and Cleveland every year. It gets boring. So on the AL side, we probably will see something different. On the NL side, I think even if the Dodgers make it only to the wild card game, they still have as good a chance of any to make it to the World Series. And I'd like to see that chance minimized.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, so...
I said it.
Yeah.
I said it.
Fair enough. Okay, so...
Like, entertainment value, because baseball, being the game that it is, it runs a little slow. I need a feel-good story.
Yeah, I mean, I do think they did take some good steps during the regular season to speed up the game. I do think some of it was really weird, but they're at least trying to speed up the game.
Yeah.
Alright, so I think that's good for MLB talk, because we'll pick this back up next week when the wild card games will be done.
Yeah. We'll be right on the ball.
Alright, so let's do the NHL. Let's do a preseason rundown, I guess.
Preseason hockey talk. All right. So, I just want to start off by saying, whatever the heck this Flyers mascot Gritty is, I want him 6 feet under already. This dude is a monstrosity that I think will scare even Philadelphia children. It's like a cross between a gigantic cat hairball and whatever came out of, Jacob Voracek's beard. And I'm really just not a fan of it. Like, creatively, it's not there either. You just went to, like, the arts and crafts store with, like, a bag of hair and said, let's put googly eyes on it. And then you put it out in the public and tried to make him skate. You put him on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, which is, like, just the most horrifying duo ever. If Jimmy Fallon's not laughing because he laughs at everything, that's not a good mascot. So you have Ricky Gervais beating up this bag of hair, and I'm ready for Gritty to be done, to be honest with you. This dude's getting way too much attention. I can't even rule out that he's not going to show up at my apartment in North Carolina because he just seems to be everywhere. And if he shows up, I've got a hockey stick with his name on it.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of this thing.
Oh no, I'm not a fan either. It's just like...
You have to create a mascot that appeals to children and doesn't scare the crap out of them. And I don't think that the marketing team and the PR team for the Flyers did a great job of that.
Also,
with this one.
like, what the heck does that animal have to do with the Flyers? Because, like, every other team's mascot at least means something, like NJ Devil, right? Like
Yeah,
damn devil, and then Columbus has
the bumblebee or the blue jacket.
yeah, and then so they all mean
And
something. Like
there's even mascots that are like, it's just like a dog or something. It doesn't have anything to do with like with the actual team's name, but it fits better because it's like something. Like nobody has a problem with the dog being a mascot of a team, but a lot of people probably have a problem with whatever the heck this is being the mascot of a team.
oh heck yeah. I really don't know what PR was thinking for the Flyers.
All I know, this thing popped up on my Twitter feed like this week, and I was just, okay, this thing needs to be photoshopped or fake, because if it's real,
oh, it's very
things
real.
are going down. Things are going very downhill.
Yeah.
This is like one of those signs that society is slacking. It's like, it's not doing the focus groups it needs to. It's not doing the testing that it needs to. It's not unveiling things to a smaller audience. It's just, all right, we got this idea and we're going with it. And those are the kinds of things that make us look around at our peers in the rest of the world and think, you know, that's probably one of the reasons why our education system is not comparing to others. That's why we're a little bit behind. It's because we think things like gritty are good ideas.
I seriously, like, I don't want to see that mascot ever in my life.
It's just, as my dad told me in a Facebook message, it's just another reason to hate the Flyers.
Fair enough. But it's not like
I mean,
we
not that
don't
I
hate
would
them
ever
enough
go to
already.
Well, it's not that I would go to Philadelphia to like even see a game anyway. But I think the point of it is, and now I'm pretty sure they took Gritty on the road to be like a mascot for a road game in the preseason too.
I think so.
I don't.
I don't
Yeah,
want to confirm
I don't.
though.
If that's true, I don't need that. Like, don't shove Gritty down an opponent's fan base's throat. Like, don't leave that thing at home.
Yep.
Just because you can see it doesn't mean that we have to, like, be around it.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's my take on Gritty. And the name is stupid, too. Why would you name a ball of hair Gritty?
I
It's
don't
like,
know.
oh, the adversity he had to face.
I don't know. I just want to like figure out why does the Flyers think they needed a mascot? Because I really don't think they needed one. They could have spent their time and came up with one that is more relevant to them or more.
I think they should have just gotten like a boxer, because they're known as the Broad Street Bullies, aren't they?
Yeah, again, more
like-
relevant.
Yeah, I mean, embrace it. Just do something symbolic.
I agree, and that's why I was like, did they really need to? Did they need to get the mascot out for this year? Like, put some
Yeah.
time into it.
This might have been something like, the PR and marketing staff, they probably aren't in the facilities during the off season, so they probably just got back together recently, started collaborating a couple weeks ago, and they just ran with the first idea that they had.
I don't think this had to be like thought out to some degree, but I don't
Either
know
that
how
or-
well thought out.
Well, it makes you think how bad were the other ideas.
I don't know.
Because if Gritty's the winner, then there must have been some really bad losers.
Fair enough. But let's
Alright.
get away from Gritty for now, because again,
Yeah.
I don't want to see that thing ever in my life.
It's a good topic for podcasting because we don't have to show people.
Alright, so
Alright.
let's do like a quick preseason or all-season rundown too. So like what happened, any interesting things that happened, and the first thing really is Ottawa is done.
Yeah. I
They,
mean, they've gone full on sell mode.
yeah, but they're never like they're always full on sell mode. Like, what the heck is this leadership team thinking? Like,
I mean,
I understand, like, to some extent, I understand trading Carlson, but you literally told your fan base, "I'm not trading Carlson," and then like a month later, you trade Carlson.
yeah, but for the last like 2 years, it's been like, hey, we're not going to trade him, but hey, can we get your no trade clause waive list like the teams that you would go to?
No,
It's
no,
like
but
they kept hinting at it as precautionary,
no, no.
but they kept making steps toward it.
I mean, they didn't even have to do that because his NMC was partial. His no movement clause was partial, so technically every like year he had to submit a list of 10 teams that he'd be willing to trade to or be traded to or something, whatever the number is.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, they didn't even have to make a big deal out of that. But they're done because I mean they traded Carlson and then they just waived Zach Smith, who was one of the better guys on their team. I think they just probably wanted to get his payroll off the books.
Yeah, they're going into a rebuild.
If we can call it a rebuild, because it looks like they're just going to keep selling things, and like half their roster is UFA after the end of the season, and then Duchesne is like probably not going to sign back. And
Yeah, what I would expect is, do you know how good their prospect pool is?
What prospect pool?
Okay, so never mind. I was gonna say they're probably gonna sign like at least Stempniak or something,
Well,
because
I mean,
he always seems to get those kinds of deals, and then they'll like groom prospects to play with him, and he'll like lead them off the ice and show them the ways of the league, and that'll be how they come back up again in the next 8 years.
8 years is freaking long. Ottawa's not going to stand for an 8-year rebuild. Like the fan, you have to have a fan base at least, and you literally just killed all your fan base with all of this. And the best thing Pierre Dorian said this offseason is, "We are a team."
Yeah,
It's
but,
literally the best thing he said this offseason.
Yeah. Well, those Canadian teams, their fan bases are so loyal. Like, the Maple Leafs fans have waited for, playoffs for long periods of time.
Yeah,
So
but
I think up there it's worth doing right instead of doing quick.
but it's not even doing anything right. You make terrible trades. Like, if you look at their trades in the past, like, 2 years or something, they literally gained less assets than they spent.
I mean, I'll say this, was it the Hoffman trade they had to do? They had to get him out.
Okay,
But
that doesn't
like,
mean...
looking back at it, it made zero sense to do that if you were going to get rid of Carlson too.
Yeah, but also, like...
Because that's where the drama came in.
But that's not the point. The point is they just don't want to spend money. If you look at everything they've done in the past, like, 2 years with Melnick and Dorian, literally, why else do you waive Zach Smith aside from to get rid of his contract? Why do you trade Carlson because you don't want to pay him? What are they doing? Like, you can rebuild and sign Carlson. Carlson is a perfect piece to rebuild around because he'll still be good for the next, like, 5-6 years.
I guess.
Like,
it depends on what moves were going to be made, regardless
because-
of if they traded Carlson or not.
Yeah, but the thing is, they have made no... Like, trading Carlson, I said, it's okay because I understand, right? I mean, I don't understand telling your fan base one thing and doing something else, but trading Carlson, it's going to happen, whatever. But you make no moves to get players that can, at least look like they can be somewhat of a replacement, because again, he plays like 25-30 minutes a night, and now your team is basically a bunch of second or third pairing defensemen and like random crap.
Yeah, it's rough. For me, it depends on what if they were going to release or waive Smith anyway. If they had kept Carlson, would that move, like, because if Carlson stays, you can't just over time keep making those moves and think that he's going to stay
Well, so
for a long term.
again, so no, they don't try to re-sign Carlson, right? It's already been put out. They never tried to re-sign Carlson, so they just traded him. If they did try to re-sign Carlson this offseason, waiving Smith makes a lot more sense because he had like $30.2 million on the books that you can get rid of and use for something else, and he wasn't really living up to that $3.2 million price tag.
Mm-hmm. But now that he's one of the best that's left,
That made no sense because you got rid of Carlson and did nothing in return.
yeah,
Like, literally, what the heck?
it's a
The
tough
trade
look.
also, like, they could have done so much better, but, like, Ottawa's like, we're not trading him to the East, and so they, like, literally settled on San Jose. They could have got so much more for the future. But because they literally took out 14 teams in the East, or whatever it is, 13 teams in the East, whatever it is, they didn't get all that they could have for Carlson.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big problem too, because I mean, your team's in the gutter anyway, you're trying to rebuild, then why aren't you just giving him?
Yeah, it's confusing, but it's too soon to make of it because you never know if they're gonna have one of those unexpected years where just everybody meshes really well.
But who do they have?
It probably, yeah.
Right.
Well,
The only player that's basically good on their
they
team is
gotta put
Duchesne, and
somebody
he's
out
still
there.
overrated.
Yeah. Well, they gotta put some kind of product out there.
Yeah, like a 50-point team, maybe. Literally, they're done. And I mean, I feel bad for Ottawa fans because the way that the past 2 years have gone, and seeing your team make the playoffs and perform pretty well to being a bottom feeder, it sucks as a fan. And I mean, what else are you gonna do as a fan there?
Yeah. So, what is it? They're obviously not one of the teams to watch for. Let's go through some teams that you do think can contend. But really quick, I just want to say the Red Wings being 7-1 in the preseason, probably not indicative of what's going to happen
Definitely
during
not
the regular
indicative
season.
of what's gonna happen. Definitely. I mean,
Yeah. So, I mean, if they can, it's more interesting in the East. But
I mean,
in that division, there's just too much.
I think they can make, like, they just need younger players to step up.
Right, but they have all those older guys on bigger contracts.
Yeah, but that's the problem. But if they have, like, and they don't even need many younger guys to step up. Like, Larkin is still pretty good. I think he can have a solid year. But then if they have one other guy step up, they're a legit playoff contender. I think that's all they're missing. I
think goaltending is probably going to be a big if for them.
Yeah, but I don't I think it's an if, but I don't think that's gonna, like, drag them down so much. I think they're missing, like, an offensive piece, and then they need their defense to help with the goaltending. But I'm not asking too much of a defense. You're supposed to be defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think their goaltending is as good as it used to be, but their goaltending wasn't, like, amazing to begin with, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They had solid goaltending, but it wasn't like, number 1, 2, 3 type.
Yeah, they had like a top 10.
Yeah. But so as far as teams to watch, I mean, you obviously got to say Vegas. They're still new. How's the Pacioretty acquisition going to affect their team?
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, just got to look at the explosive teams. Like, I think Nashville, it would be a pretty fun team to watch this year.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that the window's going to close for Nashville soon?
Soon, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You have to think that you can't keep those 4 defensemen around forever.
And, like, Weber's getting old. He's not going to... You're never going to get him to perform like he used to.
Yeah, no. Especially he came out of retirement, so...
Well, no, so Subban, like, I mean... And, like, the other defensemen, like right, like Subban and all those guys, right?
Hmm.
They are on really good contract right now. Like, when are they gonna go up? Like, how much they can ask for? Because they're all number one pairing defensemen, basically.
Hmm.
You can
Right.
build a
It'd be hard to not leave and go and be the number one, definitely somewhere else.
for more money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
It's hard to make those kinds of sacrifices for the team on a NHL level.
yeah.
Those are the sacrifices you make when like you're in college sports or something. It's like you know that the scouts already know that you're going high in the draft anyway, so like you don't need to worry about your status because less is more. But when you're in the pros and the money matters,
Yeah, and you don't have like Pittsburgh is a team that don't have money issues, but that's because like Crosby's contract is such a deal at this point in time for Pittsburgh.
yeah,
Malkin also, Kessel's not a high contract either. Like, your core of players in Pittsburgh, they all took cuts basically with long-term deals.
yeah, something about Crosby. He just likes the number 8 and 7 and everything.
Yeah,
So
so
he
I
makes
mean,
8.7 mil a year, which is a bargain.
definitely with like how with the money McDavid and Eichel are making at this point, like holy crap.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's not the NFL where like these dudes see that someone else got money and then they hold out for like the bigger deal because it's like now I want to be paid just a little bit more. It's hockey where a lot of these guys just
Yeah,
they sign on the dotted line and they'll play throughout their contract.
but also like they got long-term deals. In
Oh
Pittsburgh's
yeah,
case, the way that they got the hit to lessen is long-term deals, because that's the only way you spread the money out a little bit more
hmm,
and you guarantee it. And I mean, most teams don't do that for multiple players, and it's a lot harder, especially with like how like Draisaitl is having a problem with Edmonton right now, right?
yeah, because he got paid so much money, he's starting to underperform.
No, he's on he's trying to get an extension.
Oh,
Um,
that's right. My apologies.
he's trying to get an extension because he's still on his ELC. Uh, right, and he's trying to
Hmm.
argue that he's worth I forget exactly what the number was, but like recently another guy signed who's about his skill level for like 6.2, I think. So he wants like 8. I don't know if it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
Or was
that,
that
that
Nylander? Maybe it was Nylander.
That sounds really high, especially because Edmonton already like gave Lucic all that money.
Well, okay, Lucic deal is a problem
Yeah,
because he's like 40.
yeah,
But yeah, we'll see. But as far as like teams to watch, right? Like you got Vegas because I mean they got Pacioretty, which I think is a great acquisition for them, and Montreal's also going down in a forest fire. But at least with Montreal, they got like Nick Suzuki back in the deal, and he's supposed to be a really good prospect that was from Vegas. And they have their number one pick this year, who's probably going to play in the NHL. He's definitely going to get a couple games. Jesperi Kotkaniemi. Um, so I mean, it doesn't look it's not as bad as Ottawa for Montreal, but I gotta say they're definitely on the outside as far as playoffs go at this point.
mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, and then like I mean, obviously, I Pittsburgh is always in the conversation.
I think they got better defensive depth than the past couple of years.
Yeah, but I mean, they're always in the conversation. They're a good team to follow because, like,
Yeah,
again, they have um, every year they have 3 forward lines that can contribute day in and day out.
Matt Cullen is back too.
Yeah, and that's great.
I think it all comes down to the goaltending.
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, come playoff time, Matt Murray can't play like he did this past year.
I
He
agree.
played pretty bad, but the defense also wasn't great.
hmm Yeah,
All right.
and then like you have like again, you got to look for the younger players, and a lot of them like Winnipeg should do really well this year. I think Hellebuck's gonna have another great season. So
Yeah, makes sense to me. Winnipeg's probably one of those teams that gets stronger.
Yeah, but as far as teams that like again, I just think certain teams that are just not worth to follow this year. If you're not already into those teams, right? Like Arizona, they're they're still young, and I don't think they're not making the playoffs. They're not making a push or anything. The Rangers are in a rebuild, so I mean it'll be cool to see if they have like younger players and see what they do. But they're not really like you're not gonna be able to follow them close to the end of the season because their season will end, right?
Yeah. How do you think the Devils are going to do?
I think we make it in the wild card.
Okay, so about the same.
I
But
think,
in the win loss record, maybe a little bit of an increase.
yeah, like, but I don't think it's much because we have again we lost Gibbons, and I think Gibbons was a really key part of our team last year.
Which is weird, but okay.
I mean,
I saw what Gibbons could do in like 2013.
yeah, I know, but I mean he played it really well in the times he was on the ice for the Devils. But then we have like I think Quenneville is going to take the roster spot that Gibbons left. So we do have that new guy coming in, and then our rookies from our now sophomores from last rookies last year, sophomores this year. They were looking for continuation on their performance, and keep seeing them getting better. So I think it's a really good season. It'll be a good season for us. Big question mark in defense and goaltending, though. Big question marks.
Yeah.
Like, is Schneider, like, how healthy is Schneider? Because he's not starting the first game of the season.
Yeah, he's had some injury issues.
Yeah, he had off-season hip surgery this year. And then, like, defense-wise, like, we still have Severson, Lovejoy on contract. Like, I think I don't need to explain anymore.
You can win with Lovejoy.
I mean, yeah, but can you win with both Severson and Lovejoy? At their contract hits, though, what's more of a problem is their contract hits, not them as players. Like, Severson is like $4.2 million almost, and then Lovejoy is still pretty hefty for what he does. So, we'll see.
Yeah. We'll see, indeed. All right. You ready to talk football?
Yeah.
All right. So, was it 3 weeks are in the book? We're on to week 4, currently going on. Was hoping that the Dolphins would be beating the Patriots, but it looks like it's 10-0 Patriots so far, which...
Okay.
I was really hoping the Patriots would go under 500, just a little further.
Big surprise that the Patriots are 1-2 at this point, though. That's like not like them.
It isn't, but I think a lot of Patriots fans will tell you that, when this happens, they have in history just turned around and will just get on that win streak that like never seems to end.
But
so they seemingly can get their losing out of the way early.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think they played well in that loss to Jacksonville, was it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not like them. I just think the way that they didn't show what they could do against Jacksonville, because even in a loss, usually for the Patriots, like they still play decently. They still have their identity. They still stick with it, and it's not like they lose by that much.
Well, I think, Jacksonville's obviously an up-and-coming team.
Oh, yeah.
But when they lost to Detroit, that's the one that's weird.
Yeah.
They lost 26-10 in Detroit to a team that has no running game.
Yep.
And they gave up the first 100-yard rushing performance from a Lions player since Reggie Bush was on the team. It had been like 5 years since they had rushed for 100 yards, and they barely got 100 yards rushing.
Yep.
But And Brady looked flat, which, I mean, I'd love to see it happen. I just am not. Until they have 6 or 7 losses by week 13, I just don't believe that it's real.
Yeah, but like I'm not saying they're gonna get 6 or 7 losses, but even like a 5 loss, even a 4 loss Pastries team is almost unheard of in this day and age.
Yeah, a Patriots team that makes the playoffs but doesn't get the bye.
That is definitely unheard of this day.
Yeah, which would be like a 5-loss team.
Yeah, 4 or 5, even a 4 loss, because like I think Miami can.
It depends on tiebreakers, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know that Miami's going to hang around forever. It would be nice to see a different division winner, but, when Miami makes it normally something, it's a wild card gig.
Yeah, but we'll see.
Yeah. The Jets, they had a nice week 1 against a team that they obliterated, the same Detroit team that really just absolutely demolished. And then ever since then, they've just looked. They've had their moments, I guess, because like they were in it against the Browns, and that the Browns have a win. I guess being in it means something, but at the same time, it doesn't because you lost the other 2 games you were in.
Yeah, but I mean the Browns are actually decent this year, and I'm saying decent in the sense that like they were trash like previously.
Yeah,
they can actually put up fights
up
this year.
Yeah, but my big thing so far in the NFL in total is we've already had 2 ties.
Yep, that is almost unheard of for 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean you get like maybe 1 tie in like 4 years in the NFL up till this point. Now you have 2 in the first 2 weeks, and we're obviously in week 4 now. So the forecast, the data would suggest that there's going to be more this year. There probably won't be, but you never know because they made the overtime period shorter.
Mm-hmm.
It's now 10 minutes. So, a lot of teams can take 6 minutes off the clock. We saw last week in overtime the Saints took like 7 minutes off the clock before Atlanta. And Atlanta never touched the ball in that overtime.
Yep.
So it's wild. These games are getting closer, but the penalties are so stupid. Come on. The Clay Matthews one where he literally sacked Alex Smith.
That one is dumb. That one.
How can you rough the passer when he doesn't pass?
That one was really dumb. But, like, I don't think they've made too many mistakes officiating-wise.
Look, man.
I think,
I'm going to go unbiased here. There was one where they called roughing the passer against the Buccaneers in the Monday night game against the Steelers, where all that happened is, like, a dude followed through and trying to get through the last defensive lineman. He ended up, like, tapping Big Ben on the helmet. And they called that roughing the passer.
I mean, see, that depends. Like, how are they going to call that for the right? Like, Clay Matthews, like, that's definitely not a penalty that should not have been called, and what the heck were they thinking? But it really depends on how they decide to call these penalties. Like, I think if we consistently see the same types of calls, like, there shouldn't be any differences. Like, if they call somebody for, tapping the head or, late shot barely in one game, they should keep it consistent. And
right. Well, they already said that they're not changing the rule. They came out this week and said that.
It's not about a rule change. It's about interpretation of the rule that's changing.
Well, sorry. Let me rephrase it. They weren't going to relax the rule.
Okay, so that means they're probably a little more stickler on anybody touching the QB and all that.
Yeah, which it obviously takes time to figure out what the heck.
Yeah, so that's an interpretation change.
Yeah.
And so give it some time. Like, again, I do agree that the Clay Matthews call was BS and should not have been called, but if they are really changing the interpretation of the rule to be more concrete and protecting the quarterback more, then don't start a witch hunt right now.
I guess it's just hard because, Like, the rules are different in college.
But I mean, they have to be. It's two different sports basically.
Yeah, but a dude who gets drafted into the NFL now basically has to, if he's on the defensive side of the ball, has to completely change the way that he's played football his whole life leading up to the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I do think
That's
there
a
are some
tough ask.
rule differences that are necessary, but I do think that the NFL can do things to streamline the process for the new draftees.
Yeah. I think you're right. You can't have like a 3-day seminar and think, oh, everything's fixed now, because these dudes who were drafted, they now know what they're supposed to do. Because the fact of the matter is, routine and memory of how to do something will always be the first instinct on how to do something because it's familiar. So the way you tackle is, if you're a defensive player, you've tackled one way your whole life. So it's going to be a while before the way you tackle changes.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, to abandon how you've done it for 20-some years, just to learn something new and then lean on something you've known for weeks, maybe months to do. It's a tough ask.
Yeah, true, but again,
the number on these penalties could be up for a couple of years.
But again, that's not really up to the officials officiating the game right there. So, but that's my point, right?
Mm-hmm.
My point isn't the rules. I agree, they need to be more streamlined and less of drastic changes between the two leagues. But as far as officiating goes, the one bad call they've made this season is Clay Matthews, and that is the worst call they've made this season already. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but you cannot fault them for now having to call some rules more strictly because that's their job, right? They can't control that you have to change your play style between leagues. They have to call the rule book as they're told to interpret it.
Okay, but what about? Let me ask you this one. Essentially a whiplash effect, I guess. But what about the one where if you sack a quarterback, you have to guide him to the ground, kind of you can't just throw him to the ground, which is again, it's a hard thing because if you're
tough.
A linebacker, because momentum fuels everything that got you to the quarterback, and momentum continues to fuel you through the play.
Again, see, that's a problem with the rule, not the official, because the official has to call the rule.
Right.
That's my point. I agree with you. Some rules are damn whack, but I don't like starting witch hunts on officials only because.
Oh no, I wouldn't blame the officials. It would be frustrating to me, but I blame the rules.
And again, the officials have made one really bad call this season. That's Clay Matthews, the Clay Matthews sack call. But aside from that, I think they're doing their job like they're supposed to. I mean, you're always going to get those fringe cases where it might not have been, might have been, and it's up to the official at the time to interpret the rules in their way.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of these things that we're bringing up are rule problems and not necessarily officiating problems, aside from the Clay Matthews flag.
Yeah, makes sense. It's frustrating as a fan.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Unless you benefit from it.
No, I mean, I still think that's frustrating because even if you benefited from it this time, what's to say that you're going to be on the opposite side next time a bad call happens?
Mm-hmm. Leonard Fournette just got hurt again. Are you kidding me? The dude's got hamstrings at the tightest thing ever.
Made of cheese?
Well, no, because if your hamstrings are tight, that's when they go south, not when they're loose.
True. All right, so let's talk the rest of the AFC?
Yeah, I'll talk disappointments. Houston. Come on. How many more weapons do you need to have on both sides of the ball? And they're 0-3.
Yeah, that's really disappointing.
I wasn't expecting you to beat the Patriots in the first week, but come on.
I mean, at least to have one win at this point.
Yeah, like, you guys did okay after Watson went down last year. Like, you didn't do great, but, like, you had the pieces there. All you had to do was not screw up all the pieces for this year. And then you bring in Tyrann Mathieu, and you still have J.J. Watt, and you have Will Fuller and DeAndre Hopkins.
Mm-hmm.
You got Lamar Miller is a pretty good back to have there considering who's around. And then you have Deshaun Watson back. Deshaun Watson has not played great, mind you that. But, like, come on.
Yeah, I agree.
Not one win. You got to have one win.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right, so
The AFC North is the AFC North. Cleveland got a win, which was nice.
they're actually performing really well, I have to say.
Right. Cleveland's the team I would root for when I'm not the Steelers playing them. But at the end of the year, I want to be ahead of Cleveland in the standings.
Yeah, we'll see.
Because just historically speaking, it's a bad look to be below them.
Yeah, but then again, like, they are actually a pretty good team this year. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't finish last.
Right. It's just an up-and-coming team thing.
Yeah, but I mean...
because they finished last doesn't mean anything if they finish last.
Yeah, but, like, also, the North is still pretty wide open. I mean, again, there's only 3 games, but every team has at least one loss. And Cleveland and Pittsburgh have the tie. So that division is still wide open.
Yeah, but even, like, if you watch the Bengals-Ravens game from a few weeks ago, that game ended up looking like it was going to be wide open and then got really tight.
Mm-hmm.
So just the way the AFC North plays each other, you'll never know just who's the front runner until later in the season. The AFC... I'm in the NFC now. And my document just...
So what about
to stop working?
The South, right? Let's just go down, right? AFC South.
The Colts is what you see is what you'll get. They're not really that good. Let's see. The Titans. I mean, the Titans might be they're one of the better teams in a bad division. But Jacksonville's there, so it's basically Jacksonville and then the rest.
Mm-hmm.
Then in the West, you got Kansas City, Denver, LA. I mean, Denver probably isn't going to stay with a winning record for long because you don't know how well Case Keenum does. They have a chance, but the defense isn't what it was 2-3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The Raiders just are a dumpster fire.
Let's just not talk about them.
Yeah, they paid $100 million for a coach that can't stay with one decision. Kansas City, I'm still thinking that the Chargers are probably going to make the playoffs. The Chargers played a pretty tough start of the season.
Okay.
You have to play LA, and some of the other teams that they've had to play. I can't remember off, the top of my mind. Kansas City, Mahomes is just a beast. I was lucky I got Mahomes in both fantasy leagues, and I'm not turning back on him. The dude is just amazing.
Yeah.
But Kansas City's defense doesn't look as good as they have in the last couple of years either, though.
True.
Gave up 37 to a Steelers team that basically didn't run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And, they still gave up a few, not two, but 3 touchdowns, I want to say. I think they gave up at least 20 to San Francisco.
Okay. Yeah, I think so.
And then on the NFC side, it's still Philadelphia versus the rest of the teams, I guess. Everybody else is a rebuilding project. The Redskins have been one for the past 15 years.
Can we call them a rebuilding project still?
I don't know. The dude from Hunter Central who graduated with us is in their starting lineup, so I'd have to say they have to be a rebuilding project.
Okay.
Because, yeah, since when was that dude any good? Let's see, the Bears, I think that the Bears are pretty damn good.
Yeah.
I think the Bears could win the division, to be honest with you.
I mean, I do think Okay, so I do think that the Bears can win the division. The only team I don't think can win the division or has
Detroit.
any shot of winning the division is Detroit. I
Hmm.
can see the other three teams winning the division, provided like
Well,
things go their way.
not that I ever thought that Green Bay had a defense, but like there's an obvious difference
Hmm.
between Chicago and Green Bay. In Minnesota was supposed to have a defense, but something's wrong with it lately. Like this year, it has been working a different way that isn't right. So until they fix it, I'm going with the team that's clicking on both sides of the ball and is like currently up 35-3 in the second quarter, and that's Chicago.
Uh-huh.
Tampa Bay, the Fitzmagic's gone because, as I just mentioned, like the Bears are beating the crap out of them, 35-3. Fitzpatrick just threw another interception. You're gonna probably see Winston by the time this thing airs.
But isn't he still suspended?
No, first 3 games.
Oh, 3. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he was in uniform, but sitting on the bench today. I doubt that they'd put him in uniform if he was still suspended, but that would be pretty funny. Plus, I think if you're suspended, you're not supposed to be on the field or in the stadium either.
Yeah, you can't be dressed on the field. I think it's actually it. You can't be dressed around the field.
Okay, so, I mean, you can't be in the stadium as far as we know. Behind closed doors, you maybe could be.
I mean, you can be in the press box.
I guess. Carolina, I think that they're either the second or third best team in the division. It all depends on where New Orleans goes in the NFC South.
Mm-hmm.
If New Orleans wins it, I think that Carolina is number 2 or number 3. It depends on how well Atlanta does. Because Atlanta has the potential to do pretty good things, but their defense is absolutely crap because they keep getting injured. Other guys keep getting injured. Yeah. So, with that, actually, now that I say that, Carolina is probably number 1 or number 2 in the division, depending on how New Orleans does. I don't think Atlanta is going to make it with zero defense.
Yeah, their defense is atrocious. I don't know. I think.
But the Saints' defense hasn't looked as good as they did last year to start out this year, too. So you never know.
True.
It's a division where defense hasn't ruled supreme.
Mm-hmm.
Because when the Panthers had it, they didn't win a ring. And outside of the Panthers, name a team that has had a good defense who won the division. They always seem to come down to offense.
Yep.
All right, so then NFC West, Seattle sucks. Their window closed.
LA's basically that division.
LA's that division. Garoppolo played okay the first few weeks, but now he's gone for the rest of the year. You get a few good fantasy sleepers out in San Francisco, I guess, but
Arizona's starting Josh Rosen.
Yeah, they just made like the stupidest call of all time when they did that. It was like, you guys are down 2 points. Let's throw the rookie in here now. It makes perfect sense.
Whatever.
I don't know. Arizona and Larry Fitzgerald has had a slow start to the season. Yeah, I will always root for Larry Fitzgerald, but there's just something off so far. It might just be the quarterback play, to be honest with you.
I mean, he's a rookie. Like, can't really expect much.
Well, no, even with Sam Bradford.
Huh?
He never played with Sam Bradford before.
Yeah.
So it's just a different vibe.
Yeah.
Because he played with Kurt Warner for years. He played with Carson Palmer for years, and now it's a new guy. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if it was Bradford or if it was Rosen. It's still a different dynamic.
Yep.
But that's all I got.
Yeah, I don't have much else.
I'm pretty happy that Seattle sucks, to be honest with you. I was ready for that window to close after like the second Super Bowl that they made. It's the downside of when a team, comes out of nowhere and starts to be good. Is they're a feel-good story at first, but if they hang around too long, it gets really annoying. It's like, okay, look, I was glad that you came into the Super Bowl and beat the undefeated team, but like don't like stick it around and just rub it in my face for the next 5 years. Like you can go back to mediocrity now. We know the franchises that are supposed to be good in this league.
Yeah.
And anything outside of the norm is just a little bit strange.
Yeah, but hey, it's good to see the league changing because, like, I mean, even though it's really early, like, you're slightly losing that New England is, like, New England's narrative of being top of the league since, week one.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and Cleveland is showing up, so it's, like, it's good to see these narratives of the league changing.
Yeah, but New England started 2-2 last year, and they're on track to do it again. So, like I said,
Yeah.
don't hold your breath thinking that New England is all said and done
Oh,
until
no.
New England is truly said and done.
No, but like it's just because even then they started 2-2 last year. They were still top of their division, right?
Right.
'Cause-
But right now they're up 24-0 at half, or
Yeah.
near half, to the against the team that's 3-0 in the division.
Yeah,
So, like, it's too early for standings to mean anything.
yeah, but I'm not saying it doesn't mean something. I'm just saying it's like showing like slight narrative changes in the NFL, like with Cleveland winning a game and actually putting up good showings in their games, and Houston's being a dumpster fire right now. Even though they have all the
Yep.
pieces, Jacksonville and Tennessee are doing really well. Like teams like it's been changing the league as with around certain teams, which is a
Yeah.
good thing.
Yep, and we always all root for the Cowboys to stink, so that's going pretty good.
I mean, if you're a Giants fan, Giants are stinking just as much. So I don't know.
It doesn't matter. As long it's one of those things of like, if we're gonna fall, we're taking someone else down with us.
Fair enough.
And like, they obviously don't have the ability to force that to happen, but the fact that it's happening,
Yeah.
which means the next time that the Giants are good, the Cowboys will probably be good too. But they both seem to platoon and rise at the same times.
True.
But that's all that I got for football.
Yeah, that's all I have. Also,
Oh, and Le'Veon Bell's a dumbass.
what happened?
Well, no, like, obvious. Now the Steelers are trying to trade him, but like, to forego money just to like say like, hey, I'm not getting enough money because I'm not signing any new deals. I'm not getting the money that I want, and to forego more money. Like, I get that he wants to stay healthy for that next contract, but any team he goes to next year when he's a free agent is not the money that he wants is going to end up being the money to play on a bad team, because that team won't have an offensive line that's any good, and
Yep.
it'll just end up being a train wreck.
Yep.
So like, if I were him, I'd go ring chasing now and just play. But honestly, as a Pitt fan, I'd rather have James Conner at this point. It's a better story. He's a hometown guy who's going to try harder for this organization and probably won't leave it. So I'm rolling with James Conner from now on.
All right. Fair enough.
Bell can be back or not, but I'm rolling with James Conner.
Fair enough.
He might be my next jersey, to be honest with you.
Okay.
A nice James Conner jersey. Cancer survivors don't do that shit to the team.
All right. Well, I got nothing else. So.
All right. Well, catch you guys next week with some wild card recap, some more football, and hockey season will have started by then. So, until then, just happy watching and happy sports to you. Let's hope that the Carolina Hurricanes don't get any more additions weather-wise in the next few months. Before there was like on Facebook, there were like pages created to like the Hurricanes are so bad that they should sign Florence.
Why?
They're really bad.
Well, no, but like that's just
Hey, even a Category 1 Storm would be an improvement to their roster. All right.
Well, catch you guys next week.
Catch you guys next week. See ya.